Our exit poll is suggesting that there will be a Conservative majority of 86, and that will be the biggest Conservative majority since Margaret Thatcher's third victory back in 1987. The Conservatives are now on 328. They have passed the finishing line and they have formally won this election. And that, Laura, is a big moment.
It's a huge moment. It's a huge moment for Boris Johnson, of course, who a year ago was written off by many people. It's an enormous moment for the Conservative Party, having had a torrid entire...
Once again, we send off my war rig to bring back gasoline from Cashtown and bullets from the bullet farm. And once again,
and on Monday, MPs will arrive at Westminster to form a new parliament. And I'm proud to say that members of our new One Nation government, a people's government, will set out different constituencies that have never returned a Conservative.
I am your redeemer. It is by my hand you will rise from the ashes of this world.
Disappointed that it's raining. And that's worrying me ever so slightly.
Chapter 13, 08:54 hours. And now that he could actually hear the police sirens, Dragan Panic began to wonder whether he had chosen the right place for succour. The Serb tow truck operative looked at the men standing around him on the building site. They observed his face, pasty, sweaty, the moles like fleshy Rice Krispies that were the legacy of the air pollution that had been a part of childhood in communist Eastern Europe. Yeah, not like childhood in London.
Yeah. Communist Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
Huh, there's a lot of pollution
filthy
there.
place. You would never get that in a capitalist country. As soon as he had gasped, "Where is police?" he saw their burning eye. Oh my god. Again, like... Oh, fuck me. The way he just makes these characters immigrants so that his racism can be seen as either comedic or as somehow not his racism and actually the racism of other people. Everyone's equally racist, really.
Yeah.
Oh god, here we go. He saw their burning eyes, hook noses, and hairy black eyebrows. Their hairy eyebrows. Their hairy black eyebrows that joined in the middle. He knew who they were. They were Skiptars. They were Muslims, almost certainly from Pristina, and they knew who he was. He was a Serb. "Here is not police," said the leading asylum-seeking Bricky, whose family farm had been torched in a place called Suvareka.
So he knows that, does he? He knows that just by looking at their eyebrows.
Like, I assumed this was his paranoia when he was saying they knew who he was, but apparently they do. He knows everything about them. They pressed round him, breathing silently. Jeez, I misread that, and I'm going to deliberately misread it because it's hilarious. They pressed around him, breathing silently, as a bunch of bollocks will press round a terrified picnicker. Bullocks. A bunch of bullocks will press round a terrified picnicker.
I mean, this is merry old England, after all. That happens every day.
Hashtag relatable. Handsomely rewarded under the terms of the Private Finance Initiative, the gang of Skiptars had efficiently driven in the piles of the new ministry. What? They had sunk huge corrugated sheets of steel into the grey loam of London, and now they were pouring lagoons of concrete between the sheets. What has this got to do with anything? He's just constantly wasting time. Towards one of these pits of gravelly slurry, they now herded their enemy. What do you want, Serb? Dragan saw it all. In 50 years' time, this building would be torn down for reconstruction by the next lot of asylum seekers. From China, or Pluto, or wherever. And they would break up these concrete blocks to find his whitened bones. He dodged and ran, back down Horseferry Road towards the sirens and the chugging of another helicopter. Of course he wouldn't admit it, not even to Grover, but Deputy Assistant Commissioner Purnell was deeply cheesed off by the arrival of the Black Hawk.
Deeply cheesed off. I'm in a deep state of cheese.
It was his airspace. He had sovereignty, but it didn't always feel like it. But the Black Hawk had somehow bullied away his twin squirrel in a humiliating vindication of their brand names. The fact this cunt thinks he's funny it's almost heartbreaking in a way. Are we going to tell them about it? Asked Grover. He was thinking of the ambulance. Let's just concentrate on finding the thing.
Yeah, let's not tell them.
To be honest, that's probably the only realistic thing in it. That the security stupid, useless cunts.
Yeah.
Stuck in the gummy shade of London's plane trees, the ambulance was waiting at yet another traffic light. This one at the back of Parliament Square, by the statue of Napier. Thank God, that there's so many fucking traffic lights in London, because, we got a lot of pages to fill, Boris? I bet you they'll still be stuck in traffic by the fucking end of the book. It was getting hotter in the cabin. The rusty metallic smell of freshly spilt blood rose from the back, and Jones was conscious of a sense of mounting disorder. Despite their enormous breakfast, Habib was now eating a tub of hummus, spooning it down with a tongue depressor he had found in the glove compartment. Ooh. Why do you eat it now? Asked Haroun. Show me where it is written a man may not eat on the eve of battle. But we are all about to die. We'll be lucky, said Jones bitterly. On leaving Parliament Square, the plan was to turn left up Whitehall, and then, just before the cenotaph, to turn right at the Red Lion pub. There, Dr. Adam would supply them with a parking permit. It was very important, when they saw Dr. Adam, that they acted their parts convincingly. The man called Adam knew something, but he did not know everything. The only person who knew everything was Jones. Then the lights changed, and in defiance of the sat-nav, they trickled forward to the last set, and came once again in full view of Roger Barlow. Had he chanced to look that way.
I can just imagine the type of people that would actually read this book and read it. Oh, bloody sat-navs.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
can just see them now, facing a concrete wall, Kalashnikov in hand. Not that anyone in his right mind would look at an ambulance when he could behold the face of Cameron McLean.
Oh, God.
He watched her come towards him across the road, and the crowd parted around her like a zip. Like the fly of Boris Johnson's trousers. She looked like a character in a hairspray ad, with glossy evangelical skin and lustrous eyes. She was 24, full of energy and optimism.
Just the right age for the 52-year-old Boris Johnson stand, isn't he?
Not for the first time, Barlow was seriously impressed by her efficiency. If his memory served him right, and he kept a vague eye on her romantic career, she had been off in Brussels last night, and here she was in less than 5 minutes. He beamed. He knew that Cameron had long ago lost any reverence she may have had for him or his office. But what the hell? Your wife left a message on my mobile. It must have been while I was on the tube. My wife? Barlow felt a prickling in the roots of his hair. Yeah, she sounded kind of pissed. Pissed? Roger's mind boggled. I guess you guys would say pissed off.
Oh, fuck off. Yeah, because no one knows that Americans say pissed.
No, especially someone who's allegedly
works with an American every fucking day.
Yeah.
What a cunt, motherfucking dream. Fucking prick.
They sorted out the pink pass, and Barlow entered the security bubble. Did she say what about? He asked, thinking as he did so what a foolish thing it was to ask. I said asked. What a foolish thing it was to ask. No, Roger. He scrutinised. Was that contempt? Was that pity? Who could tell? Roger was indebted. England was indebted to Cameron's former political science tutor.
Is that why you gave her a load of taxpayer money?
This was a languid Nausicaan with whom she had been in love and who had baffled her candidly by his refusal to sleep with her. At the end of her last winter term, she had come to see him in his study. The snow was falling outside. What the fuck is happening?
This? Presumably her tutor was much older than
Yeah,
that.
I
Is
think
this just making an
it's a
excuse to
setup.
say, like,
Yeah,
it's okay for a much older man to sleep with a very young woman?
Yeah, very young women love sleeping with old men. And also, it seems to be some kind of student-teacher thing. So it's, again, setting up this idea that abusing your power for sexual gratification is perfectly acceptable. And actually, this little old fellow was just sitting around, and this 20, I guess she would have been, 20 years old, 19 years old, just came and seduced him. Yeah, okay, sure. What shall I do, Franklin? She had asked him, stretching her long legs on his zebra skin rug. Zebra skin is not particularly rug material, is it?
Yeah.
So she's just laying like on a wooden floor.
That's got like a thin bit
First,
of skin.
I would recommend you get up off the floor. Very uncomfortable. Where shall I go?
To the chair? There's one just over there.
Go work in Europe, he said, meaning Europe. Go to London. Why don't you go to work for one of those British Tories? 8 months later, Cameron was finding that her political convictions were somehow wilting under prolonged exposure to Roger Herbert Barlow MP. Her first job had been to sign all his Christmas cards. These were late. Roger, she said. I don't know what style you want me to use. Do I say Mr. and Mrs. or do I say Justin and Nell? Tremendous, tremendous, he said. Look, I'll catch you later. What do you want me to say? Best wishes, Roger, or love, Roger, or happy Christmas from Roger and Diana? Yup, he said. Gotta go. This is just textbook Boris.
Yeah, I mean, this probably actually happens.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of this is based on real stuff that he regularly does. So she knuckled under and signed 500 cards. Mr. Roger Barlow, Esquire, MP, in that flagrantly American piggy-knitting handwriting, with the R like a Russian ya sign. It would have been more believable if she had written David Beckham. Ha 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 ha. God, this book's so funny. It's a fucking laugh riot. I laugh on the dot every 30 minutes. As I lounge on the divan as Freddie reads it. Freddie. When, inevitably, there was a revolt in his constituency about this breach of etiquette, he was so low as to seek, somehow, to blame her. Oh, Gad, he said.
Is he fucking Tommy Wiseau?
Yeah. Oh, God. You're tearing me apart, Lisa. I don't know if he's saying egad, or if he's saying oh God, but with an A for no reason. Oh God, he said, groaning and running his hands through his hair. Go! Go! To the point where she felt like kicking him. Saying, just what kind of a conservative was this guy anyhow? It was so disappointing. She had been with him at a meeting in a church hall when someone had stood up and said, Mr. Barlow, do you agree with me that there is far too much gratuitous and offensive sex on television? And will you, the man's hands were shaking as he read out his question, take steps to ensure that Ofcom protects children from the current tide of filth? Barlow had given an intelligent answer about the difficulties of censorship and the watershed and that kind of thing, and then thrown it all away with some flip aside. I tend to rely on my children to tell me what it's safe to watch. Ha ha ha. A young lady had asked him about abortion, and his answer had been protozoan in its invertebracy. It was all about grey areas and moral continuums. The nearest he came to a statement of principle was to say, frankly, it's all a bit of a tricky one, really. But the worst thing had been his answer on gay marriage. Now, Cameron had graduated from Rochester University, NY. Brackets, motto, meliora, or better things, close brackets. As a pretty straightforward, moral, authoritarian, neoconservative. Sounds like a cool cat. In the run-up to the war in Iraq, she had stuck a poster in her dorm saying, "Let's bomb France." Yeah, who says conservatives can't be funny, eh?
I do, I say that.
At the height of Francophobia, she had moved a motion in the student body. Many American colleges were to rebaptise French fries as freedom fries. She wanted to go one better. In honour of Tony Blair, she said Rochester should call them chips like they did in Britain. The motion did not attract much support, but her Nosikian professor gave a wan smile. What a bunch of cunts! Call them chips after Tony Blair. That'll really stick it to the communists. Before she arrived in London, she had presumed that if Barlow were a Tory, he would be sound, he would be staunch, he would stand full square and broad-beamed in favour of family values and all the rest of it. But instead he sat in the corner like a cuck while his son fucked his wife. By the time of the church hall meeting, barely a month ago, she had put up with a lot. His political evasiveness, his moral evasiveness, and indeed, damn it, his sheer physical evasiveness. Half the time, he would give her some great project and then evaporate, muttering about the whips or the 1922 or Standing Committee B. So she was thrilled when he seemed to take some sort of stand on gay marriage. His answer was indistinct, no doubt deliberately so, but she heard him say something to the effect that gay marriage was a bit rum when you consider that marriage is normally thought of as taking place between a man and a woman. Whoopee! At once it was as though she had chanced upon a knuckle of principle in the opaque minestrone of his views. He was actually against something, almost hugging herself with excitement.
Yay! He's against
He's a
gay
homophobe!
marriage. Yay!
Yeah, oh, finally! And then, of course, came the disappointment. She was charged with drafting an answer to a letter from a constituent who sought the joys of matrimony with his same-sex partner. She wrote a rather fierce letter, if not exactly consigning the man, an IT consultant, to the licking tongues of hellfire, then at least making it pretty clear what she or Roger Barlow, whose name and superscription appeared on the letter, thought of the whole project.
Jesus Christ.
So it's a project, is it? This whole project. By which I mean your marriage.
Yeah.
To her amazement, he had crossed it out and written, "Good on ya, matey. Go right ahead. Frankly, I don't see why the state should object to a union between 3 men and a dog. Yours sincerely." Oh, see, he's not a homophobe. He compares same-sex partnerships to marrying dogs. Again, says I. Cunt.
Fit in!
Oh, Freddie! There's a beastly man at the door!
He's very tricky, mum.
He kicked me in the balls and called me a fucking cunt! But excuse me, she said, and her lips grew tight and her eyes larger and more beautiful than ever. I thought you were against it. That's what you said in the church. Oh, did I? Said Roger. His own eyes were merry and dark. No, I think what I said, in the interests of total accuracy, was that it was a bit rum. And to say something is a bit rum is a long day's march from saying that you're against it. A long day's march. Sometimes it occurred to her, when she listened to Roger waffling about pornography or abortion, the mullahs had a point.
Whoa!
An insight into the conservative worldview.
Oh,
Yeah. As they walked through the checkpoint and over the zebra crossing, the noise of the protesters became overpowering. They had whistles and rattles and bongos and steel drums. There was one man so covered in badges denouncing America that he looked like a pearly queen. Seeing Barlow, he picked up his megaphone and bawled, "There's that tosser! What's his name? It's that jerk thingamy. It's old Hoojamaflip, the complete prat." The guy is just Boris Johnson,
Yeah.
so we've got Boris Johnson berating Boris Johnson in the street.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't remember your name, my old China, but I hope you accept that my sentiments are sincere. Come on, everybody, let's have a chorus. You're shit, and you know you are. You're shit, and
That is
you
a good
know
chant,
you are.
though, isn't it? That is a good chant.
Brackets, repeat to fade. Did he think he was writing a film script when he wrote this? Is he fading to black?
Maybe he did originally write this as a film, because he does want to write films, doesn't
Yeah,
he?
we know that he did write a screenplay.
Yeah.
Which
we
again,
have to get hold of that.
a genuine plea. Please, if you have any way that you might be able to get a hold of that draft of Boris Johnson's screenplay, and that you could give it to us so that we could read it and dramatically reenact it. We would owe you our lives. We would do anything to repay you for that. So if anyone has any way of getting a hold of that and giving it to us, oh my god, that would be the greatest day of my life.
That would be absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, we could just break into his house and fucking clobber him and nick it.
Yeah, we could just break into his house and clobber him. Cameron scowled at the man. She tried accelerating her gait in the hope that Roger would walk faster. Much earlier that morning, she and Adam, her boyfriend, had been brushing their teeth in the Amigo Hotel, Brussels. Adam? Dr. Adam? Do you think she's in on it?
She's a member of
she's a member of the Mujahideen.
Well, she hates abortion and gays.
Yeah.
So
she says the mullahs have a
Okay,
point.
so we've got our first prediction.
Cameron and Adam
are in on it.
Islamic extremists.
Yep.
She had been nuzzling him, unable to speak for foam and love. Love foam. When he spat out his own mouthful of Colgate and made a peculiar request.
Will you help me steal an ambulance?
Yeah. Could you meet a gang of Islamic extremists for me and give them this bomb? Yes, darling. Anything for you. I'm a young woman after all, and have no agency of my own. She had agreed without thinking. Of course she had. But now that she was with Roger, and now that she could hear the square full of the sounds of hate, it seemed a more difficult and dangerous proposition. She felt uneasy that she had handed over Roger's car park pass, though Roger the cyclist had long since lost track of it. There we go, yep.
Jones is going to have the pass to park the ambulance.
Do you
know what I think might happen? I'm going to make another prediction.
Is this what would they call it? Like a multiplier on your bet?
Yes, yeah, it is. I think, so the ambulance is going to be in position in this car park, right, to blow up the president or whatever. Yeah. Eric is going to fucking come round in the back of the ambulance and he's going to somehow save the day. He'll defuse the bomb or something.
It will be like Batman. Sometimes can't get rid of a bomb.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
I actually am inclined to believe that that's what's going on.
I'd like to make it clear at this point, if you haven't really seen much of our other stuff, I don't think any of our predictions
if you've not seen any of our other stuff, we're right all the time.
I don't think any of our predictions have...
Like I say, Joe, it's really strange how often we're right. Now she was dubious about the ethics of the other request that Adam had made. It's completely outrageous, Adam had told her, as he outlined the callous discrimination against the journalists from Al Khadija. They just want to make a film about parliamentary democracy. Aren't we supposed to be in favour of that kind of thing?
This is the most obvious shit ever, isn't it?
Again, it's the appeals to the poor discrimination of the journalists from the foreign countries that lets the terrorists...
Yeah.
She didn't have to do anything difficult, he said. She just had to pick them up. And obviously, he couldn't do it himself because he didn't have a researcher's pass. And, by the way, could she get one for him too? So guiltily, she tried to force Roger's pace and turned her eyes away from the crowd and didn't look twice at the white emergency services vehicle chuntering slowly round the corner to her left. Chuntering.
Lord Henry Chuntering. Chapter 14, 08:57 hours. So one of our chopper boys... Chopper boys!
Is that the same as the fucking buzzcut boy?
Yeah, man. So one of our chopper boys thinks he saw an ambulance, said Deputy Assistant Commissioner Purnell. Oh, this is great, isn't it? Did you get the roof number? The Deputy Assistant Commissioner was thinking that there was...
Which Deputy Assistant Commissioner?
I don't know. It could be any of them.
It could be any one of them. Be more specific, Boris. Jesus.
No, said Grover. He can't remember it. And anyway, he says it was half covered by a tow truck crane. A tow truck? That's what he says. Well, where's this tow truck? Christ on a bike! Dragan Panic sighed. He was only second in the queue, but he seemed to have been here for some time. At Horseferry Road Police Station, Duty Officer Louise Botting was dealing with another victim of crime. A victim of crime? Officer, I'm a victim of crime!
I've been made victim by crime!
She was a woman of about 50, with grey hair and perfectly attired for cycling. She had a helmet with a red reflector, fluorescent yellow zigzags on her torso, and an air of Anglo-Saxon indignation.
What the fuck is up with this guy?
What
Racist,
the fuck do the Anglo-Saxons have to be indignant about?
Yeah, it's just this obsession with racialising every trait. Jesus Christ.
How can I help you, sir? Asked Louise Botting. They killed the traffic warden, didn't they? Did they? Asked Sergeant Botting, and then listened with mounting amazement. At one point she interrupted him. Did you say you were removing an ambulance? And why are you covered in mud? Dragan thumped a weary fist on the attack-proof glass like a drunk in a benefit office. Fuck you, Al. I swear I am telling the truth. Louise Botting summoned the station commander and together they took a full statement. Then the station commander took a call, and when he explained its contents to Louise Botting, she looked at Dragan Panic with new and wondering eyes. Chapter 15. 0900 hours. Bong! Big Ben struck 9, and on the roof of the Commons, Pickle quivered again. Bong! The cavalcade effortfully.
Fuck off. Fuck off, Ali.
Bong! The cavalcade effortfully turned right towards Chelsea, and the leaves of the embankment waved beneath the passage of the Black Hawk. Bong, the ambassador of the French Republic, N. Yves Charpentier, told his official driver to follow the mall down to Parliament Square and make for St. Stephen's entrance. Then he sat back on the blue velour of the Renault and buried his nose in the hot black scented crown of his mistress, Benedict Al-Walibi. Oh, the French ambassador's girlfriend! She's in on it.
She'll be Moroccan or something.
Yeah.
She's in on it.
Bong, in a cave in the tribal areas of Pakistan, not far from the Afghan border, the BBC's coverage of the state visit was being closely monitored on TV. Bong, why does he have to keep saying bong? For God's sake. Bong, the Prime Minister sat in his small office in Downing Street and gave heartfelt thanks once again to the protocol ruling which meant he did not have to attend the speech in Westminster Hall. John Major, it had been pointed out, was not there for Nelson Mandela, nor for Bill Clinton, if his memory served him correctly. Serve that correctly. The presidential red setter had a beautiful dream in which he sunk his teeth into the neck of the presidential cat.
Sorry, what?
The president's dog has just become a point of view character.
Oh my god. Is this fucking Hilltavires where the dog has a flashlight?
Bong, Roger Barlow's 4-year-old heir was fucking his mum. Bong, Roger Barlow's 4-year-old heir. Heir to fucking what? Bong, Roger Barlow's 4-year-old heir was sitting cross-legged at school and looking intently at some pictures of king killing in Old Dahomey. King killing in Old Dahomey. King killing in Old Dahomey.
Yeah, I don't know what I expected looking at it would do for me.
Bong Jones felt the first drop of perspiration emerge from his temple and run down his cheek. As Roger and Cameron gained the entrance to New Palace Yard, a taxi drew up. After 25 years, everyone knew Felix Thompson. Barlow knew him too, and offered a mock salute which was returned, though perhaps a little more mockingly than Barlow, in an ideal world, would have liked.
Fuck me.
I remember my father taking a great bite of an apple and crack! Very psychologically damaging losing your teeth. It's all in Freud. You know, if you're an elephant and you lose your teeth, you've had it. Here, just say ah. Go on, open wide the pearly gates. Cameron had the surreal experience of offering her teeth for inspection to the member Sorry, I'm quite shocked that this is even happening actually. As he was looking his research assistant in the mouth, he became aware of two people craning their necks to watch him from 120 feet up.
As he was looking at his research assistant with a mouse, he was instantly vaporised by a 10-ton blast.
Yeah, I would love for that to just turn the page. It turns out all of this is just blank, and it's just, bomb goes off, all dead, good night.
Yeah.
I mean, we could always just pretend.
Yeah,
They
don't need to
know.
Yeah, fucking idiots.
It was Jason Pickle and Indira, their scopes glinting in the sun.
They're about to fucking assassinate.
Yeah, fuck this, push.
State of that gun. Put him out of his fucking misery. Through the back of his head.
Yeah, through her mouth.
Gob.
You're quite happy for me to check your teeth? No, it's fine. Ah, said Roger, brightening again. Now that is what we call Barlow's law of the displaced negative. In principle, you are saying that you are happy for me to look at your teeth, but there is a stray negative, the no, which simply needs to be removed from the beginning of that sentence and inserted between subject and predicate to give the real meaning. You secretly mean it's not fine. Fuck! To give another example.
Fuck off, Roger, she said. Just fuck off.
Cameron snorted, not altogether fondly.
Your arms just give way.
Yeah, my hands just like, done, right, done.
Even though it was a warm July morning, the man outside the Red Lion pub in Derby Gate was wearing an elbow-patched tweed jacket and faded cords.
Of course he fucking was.
He had scuffed brown brogues from which emerged cheap toweling socks, one of which was blue, and one of which looked suspiciously like a trophy from the goodie bag of Virgin Atlantic. I'm supposed to know what the fuck that is, am I? When the authorities would come that evening to examine the contents of his wallet, they would confirm that he was Dr. Adam Swallow. He was a reader at the Pitt Rivers Museum of Anthropology and Ethnography. I just wanted to point out as well that she's 24 and he's 35. So even someone that's age appropriate has to be a decade on.
Yeah.
The innermost fold of his wallet contained a forgotten condom of great antiquity and no contraceptive value whatsoever. He cannot not do it. He is just Boris Johnson, born to be a pervert.
Yeah.
He was tall and lean and dark and sitting forward on the beer-splashed bench, and between his thick wrists he held a tabloid paper.
What?
Between his wrists. He was chuckling. Well, you would, wouldn't you? The centre page feature was a tremendous tub-thumping YOY piece by Sir Trevor Hutchinson, a former editor of the Daily Telegraph, entitled Our Shameful Surrender to Terror. It dilated on the various erosions of liberty entailed by the current obsession with security. Was it not outrageous, whinnied Sir Trev, that the Queen was being served with plastic cutlery aboard the Royal Flight?
Yeah, it is outrageous that the Queen is using plastic cutlery on a royal flight.
They shouldn't have any fucking cutlery. They should be made to eat with their fucking hands off the fucking floor, like the fucking rest of us. No, Fred here! My salad fork's made of plastic. Fetch the police! He railed against the frogmen in the Thames. Well, to be fair, the frogmen raids have become increasingly daring as of late. He railed against the frogmen in the Thames, the boom that had been constructed in the river to protect the Commons Terrace from a riparian boarding party. The Gluff. Most of the time, like, that's the only response you can have to this shit.
Yes, I just don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and I don't care. Right?
Yeah, just a complete fucking sigh of a man. And then he related his almost insane irritation when boarding a flight from Heathrow to Inverness to fulfil an important shooting engagement, being asked to reproduce his passport. There being 300 words to supply after this opening lungful, Sir Trev went on to deplore the general phobia of risk in today's namby-pamby society, alighting on such diverse themes as the near cancellation on insurance grounds of the climactic firework display at the Henley Regatta, and the use of cup holders and splutterissimo airbags in the new American tanks which the army, in defiance of his advice, was on the verge of buying. This fucking snowflake boomer motherfucker. Good stuff, chuckled Adam, who had written his own share of bilge in his time. He folded the paper carefully and would have dropped it in the bin, had not the bins all been removed for security reasons from this part of Westminster. He checked his watch, stood up and looked boldly out into the street, his bright brown eyes shining with tension. They should be here any minute, he thought. Where was Cameron? Now the drops were chasing each other down Jones's pitted temples, and he could hear the chatter of the Black Hawk coming up the embankment with the president underneath, hanging off the it's that old lady getting spun into a fucking singularity. He says 4 of them killed the warden, said the station commander into the phone. Killed a traffic warden? We all feel like that sometimes. No, I think he's serious. Sounds like he had to scarp her pretty quick. Does he have any idea where this ambulance has gone? Chapter 17. 0909 hours. Continue for 200 yards, said the sat-nav in the ambulance, still yearning in its silicon soul for Wolverhampton and home. Oh, shut up, in the name of Allah, said Haroon. Can't you work out how to make that thing stop, said Jones. It is a sharmuta. It is a whore. It is an American computer whore.
It's an American
computer whore. No, computer whores come from Japan. Get it right, come on. Habib had been silent, playing with his prayer beads, a chunky collection of sickly lime green onyx. Why are they sickly?
Because
Boris Johnson is a racist.
Yeah.
Do you know what makes me sick, Boris? You.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Your existence is sickening, right?
Yeah.
But that would be totally negated by your public execution.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it would be totally negated
No,
by a
I
public
say that.
execution. I think adding a public excruciation to his public execution would be nice.
Give him the classic, because that's what he'd like, right?
Yeah, cut his balls off and
Hand-drawn
make him eat them.
and
Oh, sorry, what was you going to say? He had smooth, rubbery, almost Disney-ish features, and crinkly hair, which he concealed in all weathers beneath a woven black skull cap. Disney which Disney cartoons are we talking about nowadays? Or in the
songs on a cell phone,
Yeah.
imagine. The ones that Boris Johnson
Grew up
showed
with,
to his
yeah.
kids.
The man from the truck will tell them about us. Believe me, said Haroon, still fantasising about what he might have done with that thoracic spike. The heathen dog was too frightened. It's not him I'm worrying about, it's him. He jerked his head towards the back of the van. Jones took a still bloodied hand off the wheel as they came round into Whitehall. He pointed to a packet of surgical wipes on the dashboard. Please pass me one, he said to Haroon in Arabic. He could ruin it for everyone, said Haroon in Arabic, passing the wipes like an airline stewardess. In what way was his passing of it specifically like an airline stewardess?
He had a big metal trolley and a little hat and a
little waistcoat.
He definitely had a waistcoat.
Yeah.
Whatever he was wearing, it will be described as a waistcoat.
Yeah. He also wore a knitted waistcoat on his head.
Leather waistcoats on his feet.
So what are we going to do? Have faith, said the man called Jones. They were talking about Dean. Oh, okay. I assumed they were talking about
the traffic
Eric.
warden,
the traffic warden,
yeah.
That he wasn't.
That he was
dead.
still alive, and they're like, oh, he could, yeah.
I guarantee you, someone read that and was like, so is Eric still alive then? And Boris was like, let me think so. They were talking about Dean. Right, there we go. Maybe he put that in as a note to himself.
And forgot
to take it out.
Is it in brackets?
Yeah.
It is.
Haroon and Habib, in slightly different ways, were possessed of animal cruelty. Habib's tranquil exterior was deceptive, in that he liked to meditate on violence, and had devised some of the more baroque elements of the plan they were about to execute. Oh my god. With his slanty eyes and triangular tongue, Haroon was like a priggish wolf. Oh my god.
Slanty eyes, slanted eyes, or slanties?
Slanty eyes.
Slanty eyes.
Sorry, everybody.
All of a sudden, this got racist.
Out of nowhere. If that porky tow van operator hadn't beaten it so quickly, Haroon would have done for him with all the dispatch of a halal butcher slicing the throat of a sacrificial kid.
That's how people talk.
That's how Muslims talk.
Yeah.
In the view of Habib and Haroon, therefore, it was absurd to have Dean in this operation at all. It was just because he was British. It was just because he was the local talent. It was tokenism. It was political correctness gone mad.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Okay.
Yeah, we got a bit of political correctness gone mad, haven't we? Fuck me.
As for his terroristic temperament, he seemed to have absorbed far too much of the risk aversion of the modern British male. It had only been a few minutes since the violence outside Church House, but any self-respecting terrorist would surely by now have steeled his nerves. Dean, if anything, seemed to be losing morale by the second. He was sitting in the back by the exsanguinating form of Eric Onyema, and he was beginning to keen in a frankly off-putting way. You guys, he said, Right, chaps. I think we need to have a bit of a tete-a-tete, you know.
A bit of no chin rag. See if we can't sort this out.
You guys, he said, sticking his head through the door. You guys, are you sure we shouldn't just knock this on the head? He said yow rather than you, because he was from Wolverhampton. Oh! It fucking says that! He actually put it, look! He said yow rather than you, because he was from Wolverhampton. I should probably run that back and read it properly then. Hey, Boris. Yow! Guys! He said, sticking his head through the door. Are you sure we shouldn't just knock this on the head? As if someone from Wolverhampton's going to say, fellows, should we just, like, you know, pull this one off?
It's the authenticity, though.
Yeah. So that's how an English person gets given an accent.
Yes, yeah.
But look at what Eric Onyema was given.
Yeah.
The rules and the law. He just writes it in plain English,
Yeah,
and then afterwards goes, and says, oh, by the way, he's got an accent. Like, he's been speaking throughout, and only now is he suddenly from Wolverhampton and is given an accent outside of the dialogue. What a piss take. Maybe we could, like, chill for a couple of days. Why don't we do like the machine says and go back to Wolvo? Chaps, why don't we go back to my hometown of Wolvo? Habib looked at Haroon. Haroon looked at Jones. Dean caught the glances. It would, on the whole, be better not to end up like the poor traffic warden, yerked beneath the breastbone, with the bright bronchial blood still bubbling about the nose and mouth. Remember, he's from Wolverhampton, so that's why he sounds like this.
Yeah.
Oh, bloody hell, poor chap's been yerked. I better watch my step around these nasty chaps. That fella's been yerked.
Bloody, I believe this chap's been yerked.
Okay. Dean sat back down on a plastic banquette.
Bonkey.
As they say in Wolverhampton.
As I say in Wolvo.
Jones bore to the right on Whitehall, about 100 yards short of the cenotaph, and indicated that he wished to cross the traffic. Please make a U-turn now, said the sat-nav. Haroon said something truly awful to the computer about what he would do to her mother's ribcage.
His mother's rib.
Her mother's Japanese sex robot ribcage. The sat-nav is clearly supposed to be hilarious, but it's also supposed to be this metaphor for their moral compass. Trying to tell them the right way to go.
Yeah.
Just turn around now, chaps, and we'll call
Go back
it
to
all off.
Wolverhampton.
Yeah, go back home. As if it's all just moral failings that leads to this stuff.
Yeah.
And not the wars that this man has just talked us through, how bloody ungrateful all these people were, that we stole their country and all their money from them. Oh, what a bunch of bloody savages. Then he struck her on the fascia with a seatbelt cutter. I'm going to cut about with this belt here, so you just barely watch yourself, alright? The machine started to squeak and gibber, sounding like Robert De Niro when he... What the fuck? Listen, why is this sounding like Robert De Niro when he is hit repeatedly on the head at the end of Cape Fear?
I'm Jordan Snowman, back who will come with me?
Jones turned and looked back at Dean as they waited to cross the traffic. Remember what it says in the Holy Koran, my young friend. Slay the unbelievers wherever you can find them. Arrest them, besiege them, and lie in ambush for them everywhere. Yeah, said Dean miserably. Right. We will perform the jihad against the kuffar, the unbelievers. Yeah. Remember that Allah is our ally. Allah, Ali, Al, Alexander, Boris, goes on and on. Think of the Hur, the black-eyed virgins of paradise, Dean. Would you like 72 black-eyed virgins, whose chastity has been violated neither by man nor jinn? Would you like that, Dean? Huh? Would ya? No? Habib smiled, and so did Haroon. Yeah, said Dean. He guessed he would like that, really. It was no coincidence that Dean was born in March 1988. Oh, God.
Oh.
It was no coincidence that Dean was born in March 1988, 9 months after Margaret Thatcher's last election victory.
I believe in miracles. Since I came along, you said something.
His father was the manager of a previously union-ridden Black Country auto parts factory.
Union-ridden?
Yep, like they're rats. Dean never knew his name or occupation, and for the time being, all we need to know is that towards 3 a.m. on the morning of Friday the 9th of June, a Midlands businessman called Sammy of Vipers Wipers was cruising the Bilston Road in search of, as he put it, a bit of black. Master of tonal shifts, eh? I'd just like to read the next line and then guess what he then proceeds to do. There is no need to rehearse the details of that melancholy transaction.
But here goes anyway.
We must take it that Dean's biological father cruised on, his eyes like an unblinking snake, past pairs of white girls in white socks, shivering on corners, until he found what he wanted. Neither party would remember exactly where or how Dean had been conceived. Was it beneath this spindly smokestack which 200 years ago had been a symbol of England's industrial dominance? Was it beneath this hideously echoing arch, dripping with slime? And how did life begin? Was it a burst condom, that triumph of nature over artifice? Or did Dean's father pay some trifling bonus for unprotected sex?
So we fall victim to terrorist attacks because we no longer have the empire and we don't have the whole world under our boot. Is that what he's saying? Terrorists are literally born from the decay of British dominance. That's
that is what's being depicted. And yet, when the feature writers came to look back at Dean's childhood and adolescence, they had to admit that England had done him proud. His mother had almost immediately given him up for adoption, and since he was only the faintest coffee colour, he was fostered with a white family who appeared on the face of things to express all that was most honourable about bourgeois Britain. Dennis and Vera, or Vi Faulkner, were in their late 40s when Dean came into their lives. They were considered by the system to be towards the upper limit of the age range, but there was some sympathy for Vi in the chilly hearts of the adoptocrats. She had been one of the would-be mothers who participated in Robert Winston and John Steptoe's first attempts to create a test-tube baby. It had worked for the others. It had worked for Louise Brown. It hadn't worked for Vi. She loved little Dean. She boiled eggs for him every day. In brackets. In fact, his first act of rebellion was to announce, "No more eggs," closed brackets. And Dennis, a fanatical monarchist, whose family roots were in Northern Ireland. Would puff around the garden, teaching him football and cricket. He went to a Montessori school and learned to glue bits of spaghetti on paper.
It's a shame Boris Johnson never learned how to do that, isn't it? I've seen you, Boris. I've seen you in a fucking school playing with fucking like Play-Doh and that, and you can't even do that. Like literally,
he doesn't even know what to say. He went to Wolverhampton Grammar School, and though academically undistinguished, he showed some talent for water polo.
Fucking water polo! Oh, fuck you out!
From time to time, about once every 3 years, he would receive small sums of money in badly hand-addressed envelopes, and Dennis would hand them over with a grimace. All children probably fantasise from time to time that they are not really the offspring of their parents. Is there any half-sensitive kid who has not speculated that he was in fact discovered in a capsule in the Himalayas, concealed among the eggs of mutant pterodactyls from the planet Krypton?
Is that what your parents told you?
Yeah. No, they've kept that secret for all these years. It was different for Dean. From the word go, Dean had unambiguous physical evidence that he was the subject, the victim, of a swap. And all his life he had to cope not with the narcissistic fantasies of otherness, but with the secret thought that he wasn't meant to be here at all. Narcissistic
fantasies of otherness. So you're saying that in a majority white country, people who don't have white skin have these narcissistic fantasies that they're better, even though our entire culture is geared towards telling them how much worse
I don't know if he's saying that they think they're better. He's saying that believing yourself to be othered, that's narcissistic, because it's all about you.
That is how these people see it, though, isn't it? When someone sort of complains about racism, it's like, oh, it's a woman!
It's just moaning and complaining. Because no one would spend that amount of time just moaning and complaining when they've literally got everything they could possibly want. Boris. Matters came to a head shortly after his 16th birthday. He was growing tall, with an honest and engaging smile, and his skin, after some early unruliness, was clear and good. It all went wrong for Dean when his adoptive parents became involved in a war. It was a war with the neighbours, and it was as full of malevolence as anything that took place in Bosnia.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Next door was a man called Mr. Price, who was, sociologically speaking, not so very unlike Dennis Faulkner. Instead of working for Otis Elevators, Peter Price had been quite big in the milk marketing board.
Big wheel down the cracker factory.
You're letting me go?
Kirk, crackers are a family food. Happy families. Maybe single people eat crackers. We don't know. Frankly, we don't want to know. It's a market we can do without.
So that's it after 20 years. So long, good luck?
I don't recall saying good luck.
The high moment of his career had come in the 1970s, when he had helped to formulate Limeswold cheese, the Hatho-Walkerian plan to deal with the milk surplus. Alas, Limeswold never caught on. It was likened fatally to banana toothpaste, and as a piece of import substitution, it was no match for the soft blue cheeses of France and Italy.
That's quite a funny thing for Boris Johnson to be saying, isn't it? The British-produced stuff is no match for the French and Italian stuff. Funny, that's a funny thing for you to say, isn't it, Boris?
Let alone the great wagon wheels of industrially produced Cambozola, the German cheese that trundled across the channel with the ruthless housewife appeal of a BMW. It's really the BMW of cheeses. Like Dennis Faulkner, Peter Price was pensioned off early. But instead of just watching the television or doing his roses, Price the cheese was a man with a dream.
That's because he eats so much cheese before.
Yeah, exactly. These nightmares.
Yeah.
He now lives in a nightmare. Cambozola?
Cambozola.
Carmenbosia.
There's nothing quite like urinating out in the open air.
In his garage, he had a row of vats and centrifuges, skimmers and strainers. Day in, day out, he would clank and prod, sniffing and pressing and squeezing.
Sounds like Boris Johnson.
Some fucking torture chamber he's got. From the age of 10 or so, Dean would go and see Price the cheese and his extraordinary machines. Go on, Price would say, try this one. Price would cut the coagulum into strips, and Dean would put the latest radioactive isotope on his tongue. Or try this one, my dear sir, the Cassiomaniac would say. I think you'll be amused by its presumption. What? Right, again. Boom, said Dean. This happened before.
Yeah, it did.
I assumed it was a typo,
yeah.
but what? Boom. You wouldn't say this tasted like banana toothpaste, would you? No, sir. One day, Price told himself, the garage would produce a cheese so startlingly magnificent that the humiliation of Limeswold would be avenged. Tesco would buy it. Waitrose would certainly buy it. No one would dare to brush his teeth with this one. We're interrupting the narrative to have this shit. This particularly painful shit.
It's like shitting a wheel of cheese. German cheese.
It's like shitting a BMW. This cheese would be pungent, and that was the problem. Most days, in fact 90% of the time, his garage exuded nothing to trouble the nose. On a very few days, when he hadn't been perhaps quite liberal enough with the Milton disinfectant, there would be the faintest bouquet of udder, as of two lactating cows standing close to each other in a warm milking parlour. You know, that smell. Something Boris is apparently intimately familiar with. And I mean intimately familiar with. And once in a blue moon, when Price the cheese hit on something sensationally ripe, he would open the garage door and emit. That's the end of the sentence. On a still, hot summer evening, he was capable of producing an odour that was probably bacteriologically identical to the substance generated between the fourth and fifth toes of a squaddy who was marched for 24 hours in the desert in rubber-soled boots. Here we go, we've got our first full-blown typo. One of these occasions, Mr. Faulkner complained. It's just sloppy Boris.
Sloppy Boris.
Sloppy Ben and the
God.
sloppy Boris. Sloppy Ben is one thing. A sloppy Boris is definitely going up your arse. There's no question. Whatever it is, it's up the arse. On these occasions, Mr. Faulkner complained, though if the truth be told, the objection was not so much to the cheesy aromas. The real protester was Vi, who had once been having a bath in the upstairs bathroom without drawing the curtains. She had looked up and had the sudden thrilling sensation that someone was watching her. From then on, Peter Price was in trouble. Perhaps Vi had conceived some feeling for the old cheese fancier, some instinct that needed to be suppressed or sublimated into anger.
What in the fuck is this shit?
See, when you surprise women in bed,
or the bath,
if you perv on women in their homes in any way,
they fall in love.
They
with
actually like it. They just pretend to be angry when you grab a hold of them. Perhaps there was a subconscious sense in which Vi's real objection was not so much that he had looked, but that he had jerked his head away.
Yeah, when women call the police on you, they're just playing hard to get.
Yeah. And when the next door neighbours call the police on you, they're just communist agitators.
Yeah, it was us.
Yeah,
we called the police on Boris.
And we'll do it again! there's crumbs in this book.
Yeah, I noticed that before. It is a filthy book.
That's good. Yeah. It's fucking filthy. You're fucking filthy, Boris. You fucking filthy cunt. Disgusting. There's just shit all over this book. We bought this brand new from Boris himself.
Yeah, on the mark.
Yeah, he had it tucked down the back of his trousers.
French know what to do with them, mate.
the French. Are you having a fucking laugh, mate? Fucking Tory.